So let's see, under the rules of full disclosure, I helped the IPG, the Imaging and Printing Group at HP, about 2 months ago on a 10-year look ahead. Had a great time doing it, really fun. I love assignments where you get to actually be creative and have some smart folks sitting around. That's as you can guess by FiRe, that's my favorite thing.
That's great.
We're here with Vijay, who is world famous. I don't need to do much about introducing you. When Vijay and I talked on the telephone, he runs the IPG, the Imaging and Printing Group for HP. I think my comment to you was, you're the adult supervisor over there. And it's certainly true in terms of revenues and earnings. This is the guy who makes all the money. Or that's the group which makes all the money.
Well, I think the other businesses are making a lot of money also, so which is good news for us.
That is so humble. All right, so let me just mention that in the last 5 years, under your leadership, IPG has grown revenue from $19 billion to $26 billion and doubled operating profit to $3.8 billion. It is now the world's premier printing as well as printer company. So nice job. Good work if you can get it. I want to talk today about some related things. People know what a printer is. We're not going to waste a lot of time on what is a printer. I want to end up, if we can, with some discussion about visual computing.
Sure.
And how your group relates to the rest of the groups, and how maybe you have a vision that goes beyond what you're doing today.
Sure.
I want to start with some ideas of what are driving things now and in the kind of 3-year run.
Sure.
And I understand from our conversation on the telephone, you've got an idea about content consumption instead of creation, kind of a flip here. So why don't you share that idea first, then we'll go forward from there.
Okay. So, I think for last 22 years, we are building a printer business. What I believe is we need to shift now to printing business because except for emerging geographies, people are not going to buy third and fourth printer. Just like phones, phones started in the kitchen, they went to the bedroom, then went to the car, and then cell phone. But the phone, you don't make money on the phone now. Mm-hmm. It's on the service. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing that we need to think about because people aren't going to buy third or fourth printer in developed world. So what we are focusing on is pages. And if you look at our business from page point of view, there are 48 trillion pages are printed every year, 48 trillion. And we in Hewlett-Packard, now are measuring our market share in terms of pages. And our market share in pages is less than 2%. That means that 98% is the opportunity.
Wow.
And then if you think that way, instead of thinking about printers, but pages, we have a tremendous opportunity. Then when we said, okay, let's think about even further, that how content is created, distributed, and then consumed. Because a lot of focus right now in how do you convert atoms into bits. And people talk about virtualization, people talk about internet being the distribution medium. Nobody's talking about how do you convert bits into atoms. That's the business we are in for the last 22 years. We convert bits into atoms on the paper, and people use those to make the conversation. So I think our focus is not just moving from printer to printing, but how do you convert bits into atoms? How do you convert bits into photons? How do you put, print on the paper, print on the DVD? And suddenly we are realizing that, wow, the core competency we have in converting bits into atoms could really make into a very business opportunity for us. And that's why we said, we are not in a content creation or distribution business, we are in content consumption business. And as the world goes from broadcast model to pull model, where customers can decide that, hey, any information that I can have, any creation of the content, user-generated content or professional content, can we mash that content and then present it from consumption point of view? I think we have a tremendous opportunity. So that's the definition we want to think about 5 years, 10 years from today. This will be always there. People would like to relate back the virtual world to the physical world, and we need to help that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this sounds awfully much like user-generated content is a big subject these days. All the social networking sites that are going on. Mm-hmm. So you must personally feel that there is a revolution afoot in terms of content creation. that we are now changing everything. And HP is responding ASAP, right, to this same event. So in the future, in the next 5 years or so, we've left this broadcast top-down paternalistic way of dealing with pictures and images, and the vast amount of images will be coming from the bottom up.
Yeah, so I think the world is, because the user-created empowerment given to the consumer, so they could create the content, is going to drive the creativity. In the broadcast model, the editor of the newspaper or the director of a program was deciding what mass consumption will be. Now, the consumption is going to drive the creativity, because people could just drive the content. Because 1.6 billion people are connected, they will be able to share that content, add professional or any other content, mash it up, and then people would like to share that content in a various form. I think that that's our biggest opportunity. I'll give you an example on photo. So if you think about, there are no cameras now which are sold which are not digital. So every camera being sold is digital. So people are taking lots and lots of pictures and creating their personal content. The thing that we are finding is the repurposing is even a bigger market. So because once people share that content, people add their content, like Flickr will have open APIs, people will have all kinds of pictures together. And then they could actually present it in a book form, because they could organize the pictures. So we are seeing our printed books, retail photo finishing, home printing growing exponentially. I think that's what's going to happen, because as the user creates lots and lots of content, this is photo, it will happen to video, it will happen to books, magazines, news, every single aspect of it. So combining user-created content and then professional content and mash it up, and then printing them on DVD or on a paper or viewing it with photons, that's going to be really powerful.
So that anticipates just where I was headed next, because I want to, if you look at audio, we're selling fewer CDs, it's more electrons.
Yep.
Video, arguably the same thing. So are we to see the same thing with imaging and print? Is there going to be less paper printed proportionally and more people looking at these images online, you think?
Well, I think, the interesting thing is 1984, people talked about paperless office.
No,
the fact is, 2006, 10 times more paper. Okay?
Proportionally.
Proportionally, you're right. So because the reason is, the information explosion is big, but there will be more viewing than more printing. There is no question about that. But because the information explosion is up, we think that actually the trillions of pages being printed from 2006 of 46 trillion will go to 54 trillion.
Yeah. I understand that. But proportionally, you do think that it's going to start moving toward the direction of online viewing and doing mashups online and sharing things electronically. And so I assume your radar is out there looking for other ways to share. That there may be devices we haven't invented yet that would be sharing devices, or there may be things online, software-driven things which we haven't cooked up yet, which are made for sharing in a better way, easier to do. I mean, YouTube is really famous because of the ease of uploading.
Absolutely.
Not because you could see a video.
Well, I think there is no question that the biggest thing that we need to work on is ease of use. Because the technology is there. You can have templates where you could bring user-created content and professional content, mash it up.
Yes.
It's very hard.
Yes.
And then how do you present it in such a way that you could make into a creation platform? It's even harder.
Right.
And then how do you make it a peer-to-peer kind of a method so that you could scale it is even further hard. So I think that's where the technology is going to improve and make it simple. For us, we want to make it so simple that people will create tremendous content so that a lot of it will be printed.
I want to go out on a little bit of a limb here. And
Sure.
I've been a long-term watcher, observer of HP, probably most of the time that you've been there, and certainly watched the company go through all kinds of interesting ups and downs. HP historically has always felt basically like a hardware company. Software when necessary, almost like a necessary evil. I remember buying some backup stuff years ago, and it's like the software came from Sierra Online or something, and the hardware came from HP. And with some exceptions that were kind of brilliant, I think that's a pretty good description of the old HP. But now we're talking about a different thing. And I look at what Mark Hurd's trying to put into place, and I hear what you're saying, and HP sounds more and more like a services and a software-driven operation. the stuff that you're talking about doing now is software-based. Is that how it seems to you?
Well, yeah, I think because there is a limit to where you can take the hardware. I think the important part is to really figure out what customers are doing. And what customers are doing is to really build very simple user interface. And to design, as you understand, to design something simple is very hard.
Very hard.
And that's what we are investing, you know, and especially on the web, because all these pages are going to move on the web, because the content creation platform is all digital. The distribution is all internet or intranet. And then the consumption piece is where a lot of analog technologies are. So we are going to improve the technology on the analog to digital, but the user interface is all software. And we, you know, if you look at Snapfish, that's the acquisition we made because we felt that that's the best user interface from the photo point of view. We are basically looking at that as a user interface for consumer. We're going to create that for small and medium business, for graphics, for enterprise customer, and software and services. Software as a service will become the platform.
Yeah, yeah, okay. When I think about this kind of evolution, it seems to me that not only are we talking about maybe some new devices that we haven't discussed yet, some new software that hasn't been written yet, it's a cultural change probably in terms of which engineers get hired, what kind of engineers, and it's moving more out of the pure engineering state of mind, more toward a consumer state of mind, which is a big shift.
Well, I think a lot of things people don't know about HP. So let me just give you some very interesting statistics. In imaging and printing, you know, our close to 30% of business is consumer business. You know, we ship 60 million printers, and lots of printers are used by consumers. So we understand the consumer aspect of the business, understanding the customers, and really delighting the customer very well. Yeah. As a matter of, we made it so easy. People think ink is very expensive. No, that's just because, you know, that's
well, it is.
No, I'm not sure. But you know, the main thing that what we believe is focusing on making the technology so easy for the customers is something that we have been doing. The other thing is 60 to 70% of our engineering is software, writing firmware or the software. So you know, we already have shifted in terms of the technology transition. I think the important part for us is to continue to develop organically as much as we can, and then places where we see big gaps, so like the web design, or for user interface design, or really understanding web services, or the new technology like Ajax, or all the stuff that is happening right now in the Web 2.0 world, we'll have to acquire the, you know. But see, think about it. 22 years ago, we had no LaserJet business, no Inkjet business. Our engineers developed, and our market is developed the whole business, which is $28 billion. So I'm very confident that you know, we could do that. Yeah, yeah. I will note that Kodak has a new system out, which is a fight over this ink cost, I think. Paul Brainerd is a friend of mine, and I remember back when that all got started, when all this got started, and the whole desktop publishing thing took off. And you guys and Apple benefited greatly from that little bit of software, Pagemaker. Are we talking about the same thing happening again? Do you see, are there going to be new Pagemakers coming out? Absolutely.
Any guess what that might be? Do you see it coming?
I think there's a lot of innovation in the web. I think the biggest thing that I believe is the content creation platforms. I think that's going to be peer-to-peer, where any media type, people will be able to create that. And I think once that happens, it will do another big opportunity for us. Because see, right now, in my mind, most of the content platform, even interestingly, Second Life is a content creation platform. You know, so I think about taking to the next level.
Content accumulation platform.
Yeah, but creation and accumulation, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that this is where I believe tremendous innovation is going to happen. It won't happen from big companies. It's going to happen from some smart people who are going to figure out, you know, how to make this thing happen, how to scale it, and not use the yesterday's rules. You know, completely new technology making that happen.
Right. When you look at video, even today, you know, you buy a new HP system, you want to do home movies, you want to put some titles on it, you want to edit a little bit, put some music. This is a non-trivial process.
It's very hard. Very hard.
I mean, I've got friends who do this because they have more extra time than I ever will have, and they're usually dentists or accountants, you know. And they're just spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Then they have to buy a new computer because they have to.
Well, I can tell you my personal story. I wanted to convert all my VCR tapes into DVDs because I thought VCR tapes are going to go away, and I have my 2 daughters, all the pictures.
Yep.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do this project. I bought a Panasonic VCR DVD combo, and I said, okay, let's convert all this stuff. Very hard. 6 months, only 1 DVD. So it's extremely hard. And I
feel
think
better already.
and I'm an engineer, so I think that is the real issue.
There's a big opportunity here.
Tremendous opportunity. I think service is the opportunity.
Yeah.
But I believe that you could just send your tapes. Now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send my 200 tapes, and I can pay $200, and I can get DVDs. I really believe. I think sometimes we try to solve the problem with thinking that it's simple. I believe that you can come into a services opportunity, and then you could really serve the customers. So my view is there'll be some simple things you could do yourself, do it yourself. Then there is a real services opportunity that you will be able to make that happen. So as a matter of fact, on the video side, I don't know if you know that, but we are offering a service, so like Walmart.com, where all the downloads are done on HP technology, because there is a clear issue in terms of DVDs that they're not available in the stores, and we are helping all the big studios to digitize their content and really creating a big vault. And then you could pull information from that as you like, and then you could either download or burn DVDs. And we are building a factory to burn DVDs.
Okay. If we look at video, so I want to get more into the video thing, and I want to move on to some other uses of photos in our. So videos for us were precious. Either it's the way you describe a family, or it's something you bought that cost $60, or $30. It's something which you rarely use. You put it on a shelf, you never see it again. Video today for kids is totally different.
Yep.
Right? You make it in a minute.
It's user-created content.
You make 5 a day. You do it at a party. You do it when you're having pizza. You do it, as somebody earlier today said, for reasons that adults would not understand or be very interested in. And then you share it 10 minutes later.
Right.
It's more like a piece of pizza than it is what we a work of art, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think we're tagged into that as adults, as older folks.
I think the whole concept of instant gratification and then user-created content, short film, to tell that story. I think it's very important in my mind to go back to anthropology. Because, when we moved into the digital photo business, we hired anthropologists and say, tell us why people take pictures. What's the real core reason? And the core reason is to tell the story. When there was no Kodak, no Fuji, hundreds of years ago, grandpa will tell grandson the story that, hey, look, this is what it used to be. Then picture taking an album is telling the story. Now, with digital, the kids are telling the story. They want to tell and they want to communicate their friends in that kind of approach.
Now I really want to argue with you. Because
that's good.
I think the reason has changed because it's so cheap and so easy. Instead of telling a story, which we did, we would actually do a play or make up something, and that's not what's happening now. Is I want to if I'm a teenage girl in Japan, I want to show you that I'm having a fun at the party.
Right, but that's telling a story.
I'm not sure. I think what it's really saying is A, hello.
Yeah.
So it's in real time. You're in the other bar, I'm in this bar.
Instant gratification.
So say hello, instant gratification.
Right.
B, it's telling you something social. It's like, here are my friends.
Right.
Who are you with?
Yeah.
Right. That's not necessarily a story. It's more like a positioning socially.
No, but in my mind, that's because I think about Facebook, right? Why Facebook is so popular in universities? Because first of all, it's a community. The second thing is I know that I'm not going to be outside my university or whatever, the community that I'm building.
Right.
And then I'm taking all these crazy pictures, and then I'm connecting with you. I want to be really making sure that my social connection, but I'm shy and I don't want to do it in a normal way. I want to do it this way. So I think social networking in a way of instant gratification and really sharing and telling, in my mind, and then my view
but all these things are a little bit different than telling a story, aren't they?
Well, I think, so let's go back from anthropology point of view.
Sharing is a really important
human element,
bonding thing that we do together.
Human element is sharing. Human element is making sure that you are being heard. Something that, I would like to really
I sent my thing to you, not to Joe.
Right.
Right.
And that's just because I want to make sure I am connecting with you.
Yeah.
So I really think those things are not going to change. All these new technologies are a better way of connecting, better way of making sure that I'm being heard,
Yes.
better way of telling the story.
Well, it establishes a social presence for
Yep.
you, even where you aren't,
Absolutely.
in a different bar, different restaurant, different country.
Right.
So it gives you a life and social presence and a bonding ability, even with people you haven't met yet, that you didn't have before.
Absolutely.
It's a new social tool.
But I think that's why, these things are never going to go away. And the reason of I'm thinking about the content consumption is, even though all this virtual world, you will have to connect back to the physical world. Because if you don't, then, a lot of people I know that who are playing War of Warcraft, the game,
Yeah.
and they have lost their wife, their lot of money, because they are just in their virtual world. So I think that there is a reason to connect back to the physical world. And I think that's where we need to really think about. All these things are taking off, but they will have to connect up. When we talk to the university students, we said, okay, so I'll tell you a story. My 2 daughters go to Berkeley. One of them comes home and says, Dad, take your printer back. I don't print. I say, come on, we ship 60 million of these things. Oh, no, but I don't want to print because, I can just use Facebook and we communicate. Then I said, so what will you print? What kind of things that you will print? He said, well, if you can make it simple where I can document all year of my friends and what I did and crazy thing. At the end of the year,
The presence of,
so that could be something that I would print. So I think we need to really think about how these technologies can help them to communicate, to share.
but you're asking, so I want to flip this again. I'm having fun. I hope you're having as much fun as I. You're asking the question that you should ask as VJ, which is just what you just said. You said, wait a minute, we got to ship 60 million of these things. I got a problem. You're essentially saying, how would you use my printer? Whereas I would like to ask,
What they will be doing.
what are you really doing?
That's what I'm asking.
And so, what she's saying is, okay, maybe I'll make a yearbook at the end of the year. But meanwhile, throughout the rest of the year, she's doing the stuff that you and I are talking about right here.
Absolutely.
And that's where you want to be.
Absolutely. But
You don't want to be a once a year thing. You want to be an every night thing.
I agree. What we want to do is what we want to do is to really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
What we want to do is not ask them to change their behavior, but change
Yeah,
our product
absolutely.
development and
Yeah.
services and solution development based on what they are doing. Are we going to meet their needs or not?
Yeah.
That's going to be very important.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I suppose they'll grow up.
Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
I got a couple of kids. It happened. But as they grow up, maybe they'll become not Gen X or Y, they'll be us again, and they'll be doing things a little bit differently, more maturely, and more about historic preservation and the legacy you're going to leave. But maybe the new kids will take on that kind of carefree, I have enough time to do this stuff, which is a big part of it, I think, and start bonding just younger and younger. But I just suspect that there's been something new discovered that was price-driven and availability, access-driven,
And
that was never
empowerment.
there before.
And empowerment.
Yeah.
Because customer is in charge right now.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people
Yeah.
talked about customer centricity for all these years.
Right.
Could never happen.
Yeah.
But once we go from broadcast model to pull model, customer is right in the center. So
Absolutely.
we have to really pay attention because they are in charge.
Yeah, it's a really interesting switch. It's a complete flip.
Complete flip.
Complete
Because,
flip.
see, that's why we used to be developing the technology, and every year we will have better speeds and better resolution, and we could sell right away.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we have to really think about, what we need to do so create the experience with which, content will be consumed.
So not to detract from the idea of it will get printed someplace and you want to be in that printing business, but maybe there is also this other kind of segment where it doesn't get printed and you still want to be in that chain of events, and so it's going to remain electronic, and you want to be imaging it here and there and everywhere, right? That's you'll still be a player there, and in that case, are there imaging devices that you're thinking about that will be? They're not in my desk today, but I'll have them in 5 years or
So
3
I
years.
think Ray talked about it, about the Halo. That's in my organization because we felt that you want to start at a very high end where there is a tremendous need not to travel. The basic value proposition is, if I could be here and have this conversation and I could be in Israel and you could be here in San Diego, that's the best thing. So I think the technology is now there, expensive, but the technology is there that you could actually create that kind of an experience. My view is just like any Moore's law applied to all these technologies, these things are going to come down into the price points.
Yeah.
Where it will go from enterprise customer to mid-market to small and medium business and eventually to the consumer.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe, instead of just sharing pictures, if I could be having conversation with my grandma and my friends and family, just like a Back to Future thing, right? When Mike J. Fox was doing it,
Yeah.
I come home and say hello, and I think that's going to be real. I really believe that. I think the main important part for us is designing that very simple interface, the zero latency, or in terms of the how you could do from the image quality and the audio quality is going to be very important.
All right, so let me attack that for just a moment.
Yep. Okay.
What I think I heard Ray say at the very end there was same budget for travel, but the meetings that would have been internal meetings we'll do with Halo, and then we'll still be flying out to meet the customers that really matter. So reallocating our money into what I would call revenue generation instead of into cost generation.
I think that's just one part. My view is, think about if I have to go to Israel today, right? It will take me 2 days to go there, half a day meeting, come back for 2 days. That's just a lot of, wear and tear on the body.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you're going to avoid. Plus, your conversation is equally good. I think what he was talking about is there any physical, when the gentleman asked him the question about, I'm not sure, because, there is much more than the body language, some physical connection, all that. That's what he was answering. I really, just let me give you an example, internal example of Hewlett-Packard. So we have 25 rooms across the world. We have in Bangalore, China, everywhere. The thing that we are seeing, the Halo rooms are not used by executives, they're used by engineers and marketeers, so that they can connect with their virtual team in Singapore or in Bangalore or in Israel in product development, in getting things done. I think that's where the power is. It's not just about, so in my view is getting collaborative development.
So
DreamWorks,
let me pull that apart a little bit, because I can totally see the engineering part.
Absolutely.
And this has a mirror in my mind to VoIP in a way.
Right.
High quality audio versus not quite so high quality audio.
Right.
And so if you're an engineer, you want to talk to a guy in Singapore, you're working on disk drives, here's where I am, where are you, show me the code, here's the code, and in very quick order you can get through a problem. Makes a lot of sense to me. If you're going to establish a new account with China Mobile, you go to Beijing and you meet with China Mobile.
Sure.
Yeah. And the same way where if you're going to talk to somebody who you really care about, you may care more about the voice quality than if it's someone who you're working with, you don't care, right? So you use VoIP in the office, but maybe you use a different phone circuit if you're calling your sweetheart somewhere. You don't want to drop the call 5 times. I don't know if you agree with that, but that kind of seems like we allocate based on the emotional content of the interaction, high or low, premium or not premium services.
But I think the only
or
difference,
touch versus not touch.
Yeah, the difference here, the touch was not, that's the key thing. But in my mind, the quality of interaction here, and I hope some of you guys can see tomorrow. I know that people are going to go there.
Friday,
okay.
Friday afternoon. Anybody who's interested can sign up to go to the Halo exhibit that HP has in Rancho Bernardo, and they will be very kindly providing buses out there at exactly 1 p.m., I believe, or 1:15, 1 p.m. It's in your agenda.
Because see, any conversation like this is not doing the justice of actual experience. You have to see it.
Okay, let's move on. You guys happen to be in this business called Inkjet. It is one of the most interesting and bizarre, in the sense of large opportunity, large potentiation, the things they can do with those. So I want to ask you a non-normal imaging question.
Sure.
People are using Inkjet technology in scientific laboratories to do DNA,
sequencing,
all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Do you guys want to be, are you part of that? Do you want to be part of that?
Well, yeah, I think we want to be part of that in supplying the technology. Because, probably we are never going to be, where the long lead item from the development point of view and FDA approval, we don't think that that's the kind of a business we want to be in. But we definitely want to supply the technology.
Okay.
So we are working on, because, I know that there was a conversation about nanotechnology. The interesting thing is, the inkjet cartridge is a nanotechnology, and it's a pump that which can deliver accurately, nanoliters.
It's amazing.
That's basically, and we make 500 million of them every year. So it's a high volume, high, production kind of a quality. And a lot of people have come to us in dispensing drug. So instead of putting ink, you could put a drug and you could dispense the drug.
Yes.
There are a lot of DNA sequencing applications.
Yes.
You could think about using for all kinds of stuff, in terms of using that particular core competency in making a pump to drive accurately liquid. There are lots and lots of applications. And we are very interested in that, but mainly from supplying the technology, because commercializing that and using go-to-market, that's not something that will become so much far away from our core that we won't be successful.
Do you perceive any particular consumer-related opportunities? Will I ever have that technology in my house or my office, not to print a picture, but to do something else?
Yes.
Okay. What?
Yes. Because
just tell me and I'll tell you.
but think about it. I think just take the imagination going, right? You have something which can accurately dispense, very accurately, very small volume of liquid. Or I know there's a lot of conversation about 3D printing, right?
What kind?
Three-dimensional
Yes,
printing.
yes,
So we have done it in the lab by putting layer after layer, and you could create a prototype. So rapid prototyping is another very interesting application of inkjet
that's
printing.
right. Yeah.
Because you could actually create a 3D part. So people may be doing toys. Meaning there are so many interesting things that we look at.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much just over tomorrow. I mean, the people have done this in the laboratory already. It's a proven technology, basically. Some polymers that work for it.
Right.
Right? I mean, it can
And
be done.
the main issue there is the strength of the materials. Because see what's
Yeah.
happening right now, we have created prototypes and rapid prototypes, but overall making sure that the structurally, and so that's more of chemistry work that we have to do.
You got to
in
bake
making-
it or something when you're finished.
Right material, because we could jet right now anything.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how we want to really create the right kind of material so that it will be robust.
Okay. Let's do the same question with lasers. Do you see other uses for lasers in the home or in the...
Well, I think laser, of course, is used in ablation. A lot of drilling holes, and we do a lot of laser technology in ablation. We also think that there are very interesting ways to do display technologies using both inkjet and lasers. There are very interesting applications of both of, meaning you to think about this is at a very micro level. You could combine the technologies. So, in my mind, you're going to see some transparent electronics, meaning there are a lot of very interesting that we are working on.
Transparent electronics.
Yeah.
Any more we're going to hear about? All right.
A lot of interesting things. Because see, the thing that you have to think about, inkjet cartridge is a result of developing core competencies. And developing core competencies is a nanotechnology. Putting the simple thin films. You start with the thin films, and then you are putting fluidics right onto the electronics. You are combining electronics and fluidics. And there are various places you can go, depending on how you lay the conductors and what exactly you do with the technology.
All right. Okay, we'll work on that. Well, I'll email you later with... let's go to visual computing for a minute, and then I think we'll do questions.
Sure.
If we have.
Sure.
So I was talking with Shane and Larry Tesler, you probably know,
Yep.
who know each other very well. And I'd been working on this thing in my mind about visual computing. And you're the guy. Eventually, I'm going to come sit in your garage, we'll have a beer and talk about this. But
Sure.
I've come to the conclusion, I think, that the bottleneck that's happening in parallel processing right now is, and Ty, we talked to Ty last night, is so serious, some radical change in thinking has to be brought to bear to break through it. And in technical terms, the issue of how to cross-compile across many processors has just not been easy to solve. We have a lot of questions that we seem to ask serially. There are not a lot of problems other than pure imaging that are easily done with 100 or 1,000,000 or 1,000 processors. But that's where we got to go next. Forget it. I mean, Intel understands. Everybody understands. So if we're going to go that way, where's the breakthrough? How do we get a breakthrough in programming and in input and output and in programming and machine learning, whatever it's going to be? And the thought that I had was that somehow or other, images are going to become the program. And that changes everything a little bit, or a lot.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a non-linear way of solving this tough problem. Because if you try to just extrapolate the current technology, you're not going to get to the answer.
That's right.
And I think that's the reason a lot of the atomic resolution stuff that we started working on was very important to us. The interesting thing is, as we were inventing that, the tools to do the stuff was actually giving us tremendous leverage point in terms of how to actually innovate. Because when you work at an atomic level, the instrumentation that you need, and through that actually we did a lot of other innovations.
Right.
So in my mind, absolutely, you have to solve this problem in a nonlinear fashion. And we are doing a lot of work in the labs right now in solving that particular problem. The other interesting thing is that it comes back to the inkjet technology again, because of the work that we do to inkjet technology, where you start with a silicon wafer and then you build the drop generator. A lot of technology that we want to have there, we could actually extrapolate from the stuff that we are doing at the atomic level.
Yeah.
And we are combining the two efforts. And there's a lot of great work we are doing in Corvallis, Oregon, to really take the technology. It's going to produce some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
That it will start probably not from the computing. It will start from some other applications. And once we develop those applications where we can see 1,000x improvements, it will come back into the computing. I think that's my view.
Yeah.
My view is, because generally, because computing is a tough problem. You want to solve some simple problem where that you could make a contribution, 1,000x, and that will develop fundamental building blocks, and it will come back, into the computing.
I know Ty's out here, so we should have Ty back up here, because it's exactly what we were talking about last night, literally to the sentence. Well, thank you very much. I think we should let some people ask questions. We have about 4.5 minutes left. If you have questions for this amazing man, please turn the lights up and let's hear your name and fire away.
Yeah, Scott Foster from HSBC in Tokyo. I'm curious about some comments you made. First, if people are losing interest in printing, then why are shipments of laser beam printers up 20-odd% year on year? And second, your division is well known for being very profitable, but I think the operating margin 16% last quarter.
Yeah.
But one of your main OEM suppliers makes much more than that, 24% last quarter.
Yeah.
And even Epson, which has been struggling, managed to double their margin to 10% last year. So this is supposed to be a very difficult business, but it seems that it's a very profitable business.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, can you make more than 16% by moving from printers to printing?
You've never heard that question.
No. So let me take. I think you
What
asked
have you done for us lately?
You asked me 3 questions, right? The first of all, actually, even though there are certain parts people are viewing more, but printing is very healthy. As I said, 48 trillion pages are printed, and our objective, is to absolutely continue to grow our 28 billion business 6% every year and make 15% operating profit. No question in my mind. Second thing is, we shipped 14 million printers this second quarter, and which was 11% year-over-year growth. So, our core business is not in trouble. What I was talking about, because I hope this is something that we want to think about 5 to 10 years from today and where we want to take our business. The third thing is, in OEM business, generally, you share the profit. And, our partner, and with the amazing business model we have together, is profitable, and we are very profitable, so we have very win-win situation. And the other important part I want to say is, even though viewing is happening, and the other thing we are working on is to move our, what I call the break-even point of our printing technology. Just to give you some more fuel to what you are saying, I think in 5 years, every screen printer in the earth, we are going to replace with our Cytex technology, guarantee you. So that means all the outside signs which are done with screen printing will be done on the imaging and printing technology that we have. As we move our break-even point of our Indigo technology, digital press technology, from 2,000 pages to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pages, we are going to get many, many new pages, including books, magazines, lots of stuff. So there is not going to be any place where for next 10 years you have to worry about whether imaging and printing is going to, or core printing is going to grow. I think that for us, we need to make sure that we also look at other opportunities because it's going to be important for us. The third question, profitability. Sure, we can make more money, but we want to reinvest so that we can work on the stuff that we talked about. Because it's not about today, it's about making sure that imaging and printing is continuing, years and years and years, and that's the power, because, we have been doing this year after year, quarter after quarter, and to do that, make sure that we reinvest into some completely new technologies with which we can continue to drive both revenue and profit growth. But thanks again for the question.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.